Thank you, Madam Chair. May I welcome you to your new role and commend the Netherlands for your welcoming and participative approach to civil society. Thank you, Michelle, for your Executive Director's report that sets out the challenges that the global community has to meet if we are to tackle the HIV epidemic. I would like to focus my intervention on your comments on universal access. Rafi, my colleague from Asia, spelled out our hopes around reinvigorating universal access. However, at this key point, we also need to consider the reasons why we have failed to meet the universal access targets to date. Funding is a major barrier, amplified by the financial crisis. In Africa, we are seeing stockouts and the capping of treatment enrolment numbers due to the flatlining of funding. For the first time since 2004, people living with HIV in need of life-saving ARVs are being turned away because of funding cuts. This speaks to the urgent need to secure the replenishment of the Global Fund, as well as highlighting the consequences of key bilateral donors withdrawing from historic commitments to fund HIV care, support and treatment. Further funding for the response to injecting drug use is wholly inadequate, with only 3 cents being spent on HIV prevention for each person who injects drugs. However, the barriers in this area are greater than just money. Science-based harm reduction strategies are rejected despite the evidence, leaving people vulnerable and exposed to risk. This illustrates how stigma and discrimination continues to be a fundamental barrier to achieving universal access, and many avoid services even when they exist due to the fear of exposure and judgment. We welcome the acknowledgement of the need for all people to have access to HIV treatment, care and prevention, but punitive laws provide a barrier to these services and to the engagement of key populations. As such, without clear monitoring of the human rights context to universal access, we will continue to fail to put in place the required public health responses, let alone achieve full scale-up. Therefore, in concluding, Madam Chair, it is critical that we remember, when discussing universal access, that we must consider the impacts of stigma, discrimination and criminalisation, and remember that human rights are always inalienable, and that universal access by definition has to be universal. Thank you.